What's going on, gamers? It's Phil H here, back with the second part of a 4-part series of our Vision Masterclass, and today we're going to be focusing specifically on all strength hero abilities which will give you vision. Now there's a couple of things I need to cover off first. First of all, any hero that will look to buy items such as Helm of the Overlord or Helm of the Dominator, I've already covered that in the first video, so please go watch that if you're interested in how to use neutral creeps to get vision. And the second is that there's going to be a couple of keywords that I'll use to describe certain skills. So if I label something as reliable, that will mean that in a high pressure situation, you're going to be able to easily get it off because it doesn't take a lot of skill to master. It's normally some sort of point and click skill. Second will be some sort of unreliable skill, which will mean that not necessarily impossible, but in high pressure situations, you might struggle to pull it off. Or it does just take a lot of practice with that one particular hero in order to get those skills consistent. The next category is a spotting ability, so that will mean that you will be able to get enough vision to see if something is up there, but you won't get enough sustained vision to, for example, fully clear a ward. But it will give you enough just to know that something's up there so that you can then use some other skill or fly a courier over to then make the most of that information. And the last is a cliff walk, which will mean that you can either physically walk up a otherwise impassable cliff, or you can just straight up teleport yourself over it in similar ways to Blink Dagger. So with that all out of the way, let's get into it. As with every video specific to heroes, there will be timestamps down below so that you can scroll through if there's a particular hero you don't play and you're not interested in knowing how those skills work. Feel free to just scroll through at the bottom and jump to the ones that are most important to you. First on our list, we have Beastmaster, and there are two skills here to look over. The first one here is going to be our Q, which is our whirling axes. Now this is a spotting skill, so it will be enough just to let you know that something's up there. But you can see as I start to play around with it here, there's not nearly enough time to consistently clear it. I'll start playing with the boar. I didn't realize until I started recording this video just how little damage summons do to wards. So this is definitely not the way to do it, but if you don't want to commit your main reliable way of clearing vision, which is your Call of the Wild Hawk, this is a good way to at least spot it so that before you commit that reasonably long cooldown, you can use that to first spot it. So that is Beastmaster. The next hero on our list is Clockwerk. Now, Rocket Flare is a really good skill, all designed around spotting. It's a global cast range with a projectile that will give you spotting vision along the line and then sustained reliable vision at the final landing spot. So you see here, I'll just place up another ward and then realize that I forgot to kill that hawk there, so I will just end up having to wait for it to time out. And then I can show you the full power of the Rocket Flare. So, as you can see there, as soon as I put it on the high ground that I want to spot, I've got sustained vision there so that I can quite easily auto-attack it to destroy the ward. But you'll see I'll also fire one over, and you can see that there's that little bit of spotting vision as well. So as you play heroes like Clockwerk more and more that have this mix of a spotting and sustained vision skill, you'll start to look for things like what I'm doing here, where I'm looking to clear two spots at once. So what I'm actually doing as I fire that off is that I'm looking at my minimap to see if I get any vision on that first cliff, because I will see a small icon flash on my minimap, which will tell me that there is actually a ward on that cliff closest to me. Otherwise, yeah, you can commit a skill there. So if you're playing with another support and you want to try and get two birds with one stone, so to speak, that's something to consider. Clockwerk Shard as well does allow you to gain flying vision temporarily. This may change in future patches, but at least as per this patch, it's worth considering as well. So really worth considering. The current talent for Rocket Flare to provide true sight as well can be really good if you're playing against invisible heroes or otherwise enemy heroes who are investing in those invis items. Next on our list is Dawnbreaker. So she has one skill which we're going to be covering today, which is her W, which is Celestial Hammer. Now, this skill, while in itself doesn't provide vision when you cast it on top of or over a cliff, it does give you the ability to either cliff walk or get enough vision if you pull yourself over completely to then be able to clear the ward behind. So you do need to queue up an auto attack straight after in case you do get vision. But you do need to keep in mind that you can either cliff yourself or pull yourself over completely and then clear the vision. But it's not a super reliable means of doing so. Just because if you are under pressure to either try and cliff walk or to try and clear vision while there are enemies around, it's very easy to mess up. But if you want to put the time in to really get the proper feel for how far you need to cast relative to where you're standing to get either result, then it can be a really rewarding skill to use in these contexts. Next on our list is a hero that I really enjoy playing, which is Earth Spirit. And he has one semi-reliable skill shot in his Rolling Boulder, but then also, as I'll show you with his Aghanim Shard upgrade, he gets a much more reliable way of clearing vision. So with Rolling Boulder, this is a skill that you will want to get used to the range of, so you'll start to get a feel for it over time, just how far away you need to be standing from the cliff that you want to roll up to. Which is very similar to the range of 4 stuff. So if you're looking, as per my first video, looking to master directional pathing, this is a really good hero to start playing to up your skill with directional pathing. It just simply means that the second that you hold your keybind for directional pathing and then start moving in a certain direction, you will go the shortest route to that point that you're clicking on, regardless of any AI that might decide that a cliff is impassable and look for a shorter means. Earth Spirit, super rewarding. You can get the combined, you can start learning the ranges of not only the Rolling Boulder on its own, but the Rolling Boulder when you then put a Stone Remnant down as well. You can start to learn all of those ranges. He's a decently high skill ceiling just to get into initially, but then the skill ceiling of this hero compared to others is exponentially higher. Great position for hero, that's why I enjoy him a lot. Just being able to roll in from seemingly nowhere from your enemy's point of view. Just a lot of fun, especially with these sorts of abilities. And you've still got those ways to start to clear vision, to act as a ward yourself. I just find a lot of reward in playing this hero in particular. And here we have Earthshaker. This is a hero that I wasn't initially wanting to cover, just because his main way of clearing vision is going to be via Blink Dagger, which I've already covered in my first video. But I did think it was worth covering his current Scepter upgrade because it hasn't changed in years and years and years at this point, so I don't see any reason why it wouldn't, why it would change at this point. But you never know, so this might be outdated information eventually when you do find this video. However, as most people are aware, when you get the Aghanim Scepter on Earthshaker, it changes your W into effectively a pseudo Blink Dagger. You get to jump anywhere in a particular range, which will allow you to easily cliff walk and then clear vision. Next on the list is one of my other favorite strength-based heroes to play support, is Elder Titan. So with your Astral Spirit, you do actually get free pathing with the spirit itself. So it will cliff walk in and of itself with no issue at all. So as you can see here, I'm spawning it in, and then you can either separately control it by selecting the avatar itself, or you can, through a hotkey on the hero now, actually control the Astral Spirit while also having your main hero selected. So this will give you plenty of time to spot the high ground, then clear it. You can cast it out of range of the cliff and then walk it up. And then also with your Aghanim Shard, You can also swap positions with the Astral Spirit after using your Echo Stomp, which can be a really good way. For example, if you're being chased up a cliff, or up a set of stairs rather, you can Astral Spirit on the high ground, Echo Stomp as they come up, and then while they're under the effects of the sleep, you can TP out. So that is always something to think about, not only for dewarding potential, but also for disengage and escape potential, of the ways that you can use these skills, especially with the Shard on Elder Titan. And I believe they've just recently, as of 7.32c, they've also added a benefit that when you get the Shard, it does decrease the cooldown of Echo Stomp by 2 seconds. So yeah, really good flexibility in this hero and how to engage and escape. Definitely worth considering playing in those position 4 and 5 positions. And next on our list is Kunkka. Not a hero particularly renowned for his support play. There are some people that enjoy playing Kunkka as a position 4, just for the ability of chain combination stuns, gank potential, as well as not a lot of people will realize, but his first skill, Torrent, will actually give vision when it's first cast. So you can use this as a means to deward. I mean, a lot of people should know this, especially if they're playing Kunkka as a core, a way to help their support clear vision and maximize efficiency, especially if they've got ways of replenishing Kunkka's mana. So something good just to have in the back pocket as a little piece of utility. Next on the list is Magnus. Now, most people, when they're playing Magnus, will buy a Blink Dagger just for the impact that he can have with his ultimate and the RP, combinations of Blink, RP, and then Skewer away. But you can also, in the early game, use your Skewer to get onto the high ground if you need, whether that be to 1, clear vision, or 2, and probably more commonly used, is to put yourself on the cliff so that if you don't have vision in there in the first place, you do have optimal vision for your initiations via Blink RP. Another thing to consider here is that if you're trying to skewer onto the high ground, you do need the radius of the spell to be on top of the cliff, otherwise you won't actually get up there in the first place. So just a little caveat in the skill itself, something to be aware of. In a panic, somebody might look to skewer away to TP, and then they end up whiffing it because they cast skill too early. So just do be aware of that. If you are picking up Magnus, starting to play him more, that you do need to be within the range of that spell for it to properly terminate in that one particular spot. Next is one of the newest heroes into the Dota 2 world is Marci. Now, she has a few skills, which in combination will allow her to play a support role. She's most commonly played position 4, but there are people playing her as core role. So in the support sphere, she is best combined with another hero. So typically your other support, she'll want to roam with and help deward, just in case your other hero doesn't have a means to clear vision themselves. This is it's a semi-reliable skill. It does require a little bit of coordination and understanding of how vectors work in Dota 2. So your first one is going to be your Dispose. So you do need to be standing in the right position, and then you can simply toss an ally onto the high ground, or vice versa. If they are on the high ground, you can then toss them down. So that is something to be aware of. You can also, what's the W spell called? Rebound. That's the one. So you can rebound yourself up, and then, or you push yourself up there somehow and then rebound down. You do also get, with Marci's Aghanim Shard, the ability to place it on autocast and then rebound an ally, where you would normally terminate. So that is something to consider as well, is that you can rebound an ally up there and then dispose them back down. I was just playing around here in particular. I started to think about the combinations of things you could do with a CM, for example, of rebounding them up onto the high ground. I was looking to see things like, for example, if they're channeling an ultimate, if you're able to rebound them without disrupting their channel. Fun fact, I discovered that you can't. Even through BKBs, if you use either skill, Rebound or Dispose, while they are BKB'd, you will cancel channels, even in CM's case when you get a Aghanim Shard, which means that she doesn't actually have to channel the spell anymore. If you use any of these displacement skills, they will cancel the channel. So please do be aware of that for any allies who require these channeled spells. Please don't grief them. Please use this information responsibly. It is something to be aware of that this utility will upset any sort of channeled spell. Really good if you're playing like a position 5 or a position 3 Marci and you've got some sort of hero that would normally like to blink initiate on your team, whether it be Magnus, Earthshaker, Sand King, all of those sorts of things. You can use your Rebound with the Shard to effectively pseudo-blink initiate for them. Maybe if you've had one of those cores is really struggling to get that essential blink online, and it's around that 15 minutes, it might be worth you getting the investment of the spell so that you've got multiple ways to use it, whether it be giving somebody else an initiation or giving yourself the flexibility of dewarding without requiring somebody else to use mana. So that is Marci. Next on our list is the God of War himself, Mars. So he only has one spell, which will actually give you vision, and this is a spotting spell in his spear. So you will get literally what feels like 1 or 2 frames worth of vision. So you will actually be able to spot whether something is on a cliff. If there is a enemy hero on the cliff, something to keep in mind is that you will actually spare them off a high ground if they are able to be pushed onto a lower area. So in this case, if there was a hero up there, I would actually then spare them onto the tree and stun them. So something to keep in mind with Mars, that you will get very, very fleeting vision. I even got the Aghanim Shard upgrade to see if the fire effect after would give you vision. It turns out it doesn't. Enough to get a fleeting idea of if something's up there or not, but not enough to get anything valuable out of it in terms of clearing something if it is up there. Next hero is Phoenix, one of very few heroes in the game who has 75% of their kit will give you vision via some means. So Icarus Dive is a very, very unreliable means of spotting. So you will see that as I start to aim it, and occasionally I will mess it up, you will see that as I do actually Icarus Dive, if I get that spotting vision on the high ground, Phoenix will actually release an auto attack. So that is something to keep in mind, that you can sometimes end up, if you'd put something up there to try and get vision and an enemy had cleared your ward but you'd got one hit off, you can use Icarus Dive to get that second hit that you need. Otherwise, a much more reliable means is via your W, which is your Fire Spirits. So you can charge these up and then you will get enough to, I think with 2 charges, you'll get enough sustained vision to take those out. While it's not necessarily worth in terms of the investment of the health pool to cast a spell in the first place, it does give you a way to do it. And then finally, Sunray. If you have an ally to clear the vision, you can use Sunray just to spot for them to clear. Otherwise, if you use Sunray and then use the secondary ability to start walking, and then cancel the walk ability once you're on the cliff, you can actually cliff walk yourself up there, clear the vision, and then Icarus Dive off. Lots of versatile use in what Phoenix can do to cliff walk and clear vision. Not only that, but also to get up onto the high ground to then cast your supernova from relative safety. Really worth considering when you're playing Phoenix. Next up on the list is Primal Beast, which I believe is currently the latest hero to be released into the game. And there's only one skill to cover off here, which is your Onslaught. So it's a semi-reliable version of Cliffwalk. It does require a little bit of mechanical understanding of how to use it, how you can cancel it early, so you can either when you start casting the spell, you can press the hotkey again once your little graphic reaches where you want to terminate to, or you can overshoot and then stop or hold once you get to the spot that you want to stop at. And that will get you onto the cliff so that you can then clear vision, or you can do things like blink up, which is normally what you will want to do if you're playing that sort of initiation style of blink and ult, and then you can onslaught off, or onslaught up, blink off, onslaught up, tumbler's toy off, lots of items that will give you the ability to get yourself back down once you've committed that spell to get you up. Next up on the list is your friend of mine, Sand King, just showing off his latest taunt, which is in the latest battle pass. But Sand King, his bread and butter for any sort of cliff walk, escape, all sorts of tricks that you can do is Burrowstrike. So yeah, as you can see here, Burrowstrike for a super reliable cliff walk, just point and click. You just need to make sure that you're in range. And then, so you can do stuff like blink up, Burrowstrike down, Burrowstrike up, blink down, all sorts of things, whether you want, a combination of cliff walk to get up to the cliff and then blink away to bait them out. Yeah, all sorts of things you can do with Sand King. Really good, not only for dewarding, but all sorts of mind games you can do with abusing vision. Next up, another hero that I really enjoy playing, Snapfire here. And today I'm going to be showing you Firesnap cookie. There is also another skill which I don't demonstrate here, even though I get the item. I've been recording for a long time at this point, so I think I just forgot to show it off. But if you do get Snapfire's Aghanim Scepter here, you can actually gobble up creeps and then spit them out onto the high ground to spot. You will actually deny the creep. You can do this on neutral creeps as well, which I hadn't realized initially, just because I don't use it that much for this sort of application in particular. Normally just because I'll try to fire snap myself onto the high ground. Here I'm just playing around with the range because I didn't realize at the time that there is actually a huge amount of margin for error when you're looking to cliff walk in particular. I will normally walk like right up to the cliff, which I've since discovered you don't need to do. So that's just me being bad, and now you know, so that you don't have to be as bad as I was. But yeah, one of my favorite things to do here is fire snap myself onto the high ground and then use my ult for those really high impact ults, but from relative safety, just because normally if somebody sees a Snapfire ulting, there will be one hero in particular that will always try and hunt you down. So it's always worth trying to get yourself into an optimal position just to be as annoying as possible, because they will actually see the projectiles, even though they might not see you. So they will know where you are ulting from. So it can sometimes be, a really, what ultimately allows you to get the full channel off. Put yourself in the most awkward position possible for them to get to try and cancel that channel. Otherwise, they do just run away, in which case that's like one of the best case scenarios for you, because you just get to, then do the continual right clicks to try and chase them down. I'll probably end up doing a guide on Snapfire at one point, just because there's a lot of other small things that I really enjoy doing with her skill kit. But yeah, for this application, I just want to show you that in particular. Next up is Timbersaw. He has a spotting skill in particular, which most people probably don't realize, that when you get Timber Chain, I believe it's called, yes, Timber Chain, that will allow you to get a fleeting piece of vision over where, over a cliff, for example, if you're chasing it, if you're propelling yourself over it. So that can be really clutch to think about. There are other things that you can do in terms of, and this is something that I'll go into maybe, I might do a part 5 here, just of like general vision tips and tricks around, because most people may not realize that you do actually get a little bit of flying vision around you. So especially with Timbersaw, who does clear all the trees around cliffs really easily, it does allow him to get the most value out of this so that he can stand at a cliff at every angle. And there's literally like only one pixel that you can place a ward on that Timbersaw won't be able to see it. So yeah, I'm just walking around here just to show it off. I think I do end up experimenting just to see there, and for my own peace of mind as somebody who plays a lot of position 4 and position 5, knowing that one spot that he won't be able to clear it, even though in most of my pubs, most players are too brain dead to actually understand they can do it. But yeah, something to think of is that with Timbersaw in particular, can end up clearing all those trees with your first skill, and then end up, fully walking around it to see if you can get that vision for free. Next up is Treant Protector. This was another hero that I debated putting in this video just because his vision ability on the high ground is related to getting his Aghanim Scepter, which can be very hard to get on Treant, just because he doesn't clear waves super quick, unless he does something like get a Meteor Hammer, which I am a big fan of because, again, most of my pubs, my cores don't like to push waves, so I do tend to get a lot more farm than I probably should deserve, which means that I can go these greedier items and then, play this vision game where I can set stuff up. I'm just demonstrating here that the tree does grant vision, but not true sight, so you do need a sentry to get this ability to spot the high ground and clear it. But if you've got something like a gem, for example, and you're hiding in trees, then you don't need the sentry there. But yeah, just worth knowing that you don't get true sight off the back of this one skill. It will just give you regular vision. Alright, our second to last hero, and my second most played hero in the game in fact. I am a big position 4 player, so I absolutely love playing Tusk. And he does have the ability with his Ice Shards, which is his Q. He does have the ability to get vision on the high ground and use it for that vision game of clearing wards. It is a bit of a skill shot, and you can end up accidentally cucking yourself by just via the placement of it. If you place it in the wrong spot, and since Tusk is a melee hero, he does need to walk sometimes to get in to actually attack it. So you can see there, I've cucked myself, so I do actually need to stand right next to the cliff. And if I cast the Ice Shards sort of on the other end of the cliff, it will still give me vision in the semicircle, so that I can then start to auto-attack it and then clear the vision. So that is one thing to be aware of with Tusk, is that it does require a bit of finessing to get that placement just right. Otherwise, if you're with another hero that's got range, you can just ask them while they're in the vicinity if they can just check this for you, just so that they can auto-attack it, because sometimes you're not going to be able to get to it in time. And last on our list is Undying, a huge pop stomper at the moment, to the point where he's actually been slightly nerfed, thankfully. And now, this is a skill that, while it technically does give vision, I wouldn't necessarily use it in this context all the time. But there are situations where if you know that you're going to place your Tombstone on a cliff, you would probably want to place a sentry down first, just so that you can continue to clear any observers that the enemy might be trying to place up there, so that they've got the means to destroy your Tombstone. So that's something to think of if you're wanting to spam Undying. In the handful of games that I've played him, he's super strong early game, so it is something that you do really want to try and protect and abuse, in that if they don't have vision up there, then they're going to have an impossible time clearing it, and you're just going to get so much value and basically either force the fight to not occur in that area, or just auto win in a lot of situations those fights in the early game, because they just can't clear the Tombstone, which is what they should be doing. But yeah, that's everything for strength heroes. Stay tuned for the other heroes. I'll cover off the agility heroes in a separate video, as well as the intelligence in their own videos. Please do share this with anybody that you think might get value out of this, and I'll see you in the next video.